But, this is an area that's fraught with a lot of questions. What is fracking and how can it be used? So we have an expert on the phone, Mr. Todd Wood, financial expert and author of the book Currency, talking about some of the pros and cons of oil fracking. Good morning, Mr. Wood.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's a privilege to have you on the show today. Maybe you can help our audience just talk a little bit about, what is fracking and how this could be part of our economic future here in the United States.
Well, it was discovered in the last few decades that the United States has about 1.4 trillion, that's with a T, barrels of oil in shale rock, which is oil that's trapped in rock. It's not sitting in a pool, but it's actually trapped, and that's natural gas as well. So fracking is a short term for hydraulic fracturing drilling, and it's not simple, but the concept is, you drill a hole down into the ground, and then once you get into the bedrock, which is thousands of feet below the aquifer or the water table, you turn sideways, and then you inject high pressure water in the rock, which creates cracks, and then the oil seeps out over a period of 20 or 30 years. So it's it's an unbelievable opportunity for us to become energy independent and grow our economy.
Well, why is this fraught with such controversy? You hear pros and cons, and I guess like anything, there can be pros and cons. But what are people that are on the downside? Because this sounds so positive, creating jobs that helps the country become more economically independent. And I think as a country, we really feel we need to get away from some of that foreign dependence on crude oil and such. What's the downside of this that you hear so much about?
Well, you drill through the water table, which means you're drilling a pipe down through the underground aquifer where we have our drinking water. And there is a risk that if not done properly, that there could be contamination of that water. But there are about 0.5%, there are some chemicals used to prevent corrosion, to help just a variety of different things in the process. But what happens is there is a steel bore, a well bore casing that goes in concrete that goes around that hole through the water. This has been regulated by the states for decades. We started fracking in 1948. This is nothing new. And it's been well regulated. If not done properly, there can be risks. So far, and with technology coming on, it's become very manageable.
Well, I always was taught, follow the dollar. And if you follow the dollar, you're going to find the truth. Who would benefit by stopping the technology? Who's on the other side of the equation that might be putting money into this because it's in their best financial interest to see this not move forward?
Well, you mentioned the movie that came out, and I just wrote a book about this whole subject you're discussing called Sugar, which looks at that exact question. And the movie you discussed, guess who helped funded that movie? It was the oil interest in the Middle East, because they do not want this to happen, because all these trillions we're sending over there, the flow is going to stop. So you're right, follow the money. Why? Who would benefit from preventing the United States from becoming oil independent?